Wow, what an incredible audience to be here live in Riyadh. Thank you guys so much. We're going to take a look, as we just heard, about the Asia market. 66% increase in tourism from year over year. We're talking 316 million travelers in just the past 12 months. I want to introduce our esteemed panel, starting from my left, right here. Tony Fernandes, the co-founder and CEO of AirAsia. Next to Tony is Dillip, Rajakarier, CEO of Minor Hotels. Ritesh Agarwal, founder and CEO formerly of OYO, now called PRISM. And Tony Jiang, CEO of OceanLink. And finally, down to furthest from my left, Schubert Liu, CEO of Trip.com. Thank you all very much for joining us. So I want to kind of kick it off and ask you, Tony, when you look at the market right now in Asia, what's the biggest surprise that most people don't know about what's happening in tourism in Asia?
Well, I think as mentioned in one of the earlier panels, secondary and tertiary cities growth is fantastic. 60% of the routes that we have created over the last 20 years have come from new routes, and we're seeing a huge propensity to travel. American Express and Visa have recently put out that if spending was to cut, travel would be one of the last things would be cut from people's spending. So the demand for travel is growing every year. The huge growth from secondary and tertiary cities is a fantastic bonus, which I never imagined to be as big as it is.
In fact, when you talk about investment of travel hubs, you've made an interesting investment in the Middle East. Tell me a little bit more about why you've chosen to do that.
Yeah, we started in Malaysia. We then added airlines in 6 of the other Southeast Asian countries. And then we went into China. We're the biggest foreign airline in China. We're the biggest foreign airline in India. And the propensity to travel kept growing. And then we started going westward. We went to Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. And recently we're starting in Istanbul. But we're low cost. And so to create a product that will stimulate travel, you need to be a little bit innovative. And the Gulf is a fantastic place to bridge Europe with Asia, Africa with Asia. And so we're looking at a partnership with the Bahrain government to build a hub that will connect the Middle East, Europe, and Asia and Africa together.
Dillip, when you look at the post-2024 recovery, Asia has really catapulted its way forward. What do you attribute to the reason why they've been able to do that so successfully?
I think quite a few factors. Asia has always been the powerhouse in terms of driving tourism, and I think we're quite lucky because we have India and China, which is next to us, and also the travel to Asia from all the countries has really leapfrogged in the last 2 years, coming out of COVID as well, and we've seen big increases, and it's mainly because of the infrastructure, and also the other one is the experiences which Asia is able to offer, from anything from select to luxury. And the last one I would say is collaboration between the governments really trying to promote tourism, because it's one of their lifelines, because in Asia, tourism is seen as a important GDP driver. So I think that's really helped us to grow that the Asian portfolio, both internally, outbound, and also inbound as well. And we've seen certain cities who benefited a lot, like Thailand. Of course, everyone loves Thailand. And Vietnam, you have Japan, Malaysia, Cambodia, and including, like Tony was saying, some of the primary and the tertiary key markets have really risen up.
Ritesh, PRISM is what you're CEO of, and it's essentially like an Airbnb for people who aren't familiar. Do I have that right? Or is that a bad comparison?
I'll clarify that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for bearing with me on that. When you look at the use of technology married to travel, what innovations are you seeing that's catapulting your business right now?
Yeah, first off, our company is in the business of optimizing and helping individual hotels by using technology and brand to be able to get more revenue for themselves and on the other hand, guests get predictable accommodations. Airbnb is a partner. We distribute with Airbnb as well. To your point, I think in the world of technology, there's changes happening right from customer discovery, customer stay, all the way through post-stay loyalty. But the one point specific to Asia I want to talk about is spontaneity is the new planning. We are rapidly seeing young Asians making decisions at the last minute, and that is their way of planning. They'd go to Douyin in China or Instagram or any other platform, they find an exciting place. I actually saw a video recently about this place in Laos where somebody made a video saying, I did not know this location existed until AirAsia started flying there. And then they traveled there and then, of course, made a hotel reservation and brought more dollars. So my perspective is spontaneity is the new planning, is the one big change I'm seeing with the advent of technology, but there's probably hundreds more.
Young people are really driving the Asian market. And when you've got young people who are digitally active, how does that affect the market?
So if you think about the world and you open any news channel today, you hear about the world being a polarized place, which is people having different opinions of the future. But in Asia, I actually find a lot of collaboration and similarity in a few things. One of those is specifically culture. The way culture is driving tourism is unprecedented. Whether it is K-pop, whether it is religious or spiritual travel. We are here in Riyadh. The Riyadh season is in full swing. Any of these cultural elements which brings people together, 60% plus of young Asians watch anime. So there's just so much integration in culture, and that drives massive amount of travel demand. I'll give a small example of it. Religious tourism is big in Saudi, in the kingdom, but it's also growing in India rapidly. There's Ayodhya, which is a fast-growing destination. We had 0 rooms there 3 years ago. Now we have 10,000 rooms.
And is it internally, Indians internally, or is it folks abroad that are?
It has both domestic, but there's a huge amount of Indian diaspora overseas who want to come back and connect with their cultural roots again. So my perspective is whether it is faith, spirituality, K-pop, there's so many different ways. Formula One, there's different ways of cultural similarities, but the way that's driving travel is unparalleled, and that's something that I feel is going to be true for young people in times to come.
Yeah, well, Formula One in America is considered a religion by some people, I would say as well. Tony Jiang, you are CEO of OceanLink, which is a private equity firm that focuses on travel investment.
That's right.
Where's the best place to put your money in travel investment in Asia right now?
Yes, we are a travel investor, but at our heart, it's really we're a travel tech investor. There are the routine aspect of running a hotel and running an airline, but I think technology is where it really improves the user experience and operator efficiency. So I think it's really the technology aspect of it. And then recently, I've been going to a lot of the AI conferences, and at each and every one of these AI conferences, how AI is going to help travel industry has always been talked about, which shows globally how the AI industry is paying very big attention to travel. And at the same time, I think in Asia, there are a very abundant talents in engineering, in technology, in AI, which will continue to help us to transform the travel industry.
So, Schubert, when you look at Trip.com, that sort of is an entire ecosystem in and of itself of booking and getting people to a place through transportation and hotel. What are some of the trends you're seeing within that industry?
The biggest trend we see, tying off with what Tony is saying, is how can we use technology to make it a lot more efficient? So right now, we're seeing AI in every phase of travel. It's not just applying technology, but actually making sure that we can cut costs and customer service, but actually increasing quality. In the same time, how can we inspire people and be able to create content that's highly personalized? So I think that trend is definitely happening. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We are now able to get a lot of history of your previous travel experiences and be able to summarize them using AI, and then recommend something that's truly personal to you. In the past, that data are what we call search history. Now, these are AI digested content that can be then feed back to the system and providing something that's highly meaningful. So I think that's a paradigm shift compared to the traditional search engine and doing crawling. The other thing I'm sure other panels are definitely talking about is agentic. So we're now seeing certain simple tasks, not all tasks, certain simple tasks can be automated with a simple prompt. For example, if I were to help you to check in, I don't have to do it manually anymore. An AI agent can do that. And with a prompt that can be easily changed, and that can be handled in a couple minutes rather than you spending all the time yourself waiting for that 48-hour check-in window and do it manually. So we're seeing that paradigm shift happening in front of our eyes.
So even in an industry that's not hyper-personalized or luxury per se, it's more of a mass industry. They're looking for hyper-personalization, and you guys are trying to figure out the technology to make that happen.
Absolutely. I think we're looking into conversion efficiency, right? If personalization can help that, why do you have to give it only to the luxury side? So we can actually do it applying to the masses. We can actually do that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, the key here is having the context. If you have the user's context, you can actually get what they want.
All right. Well, I want to engage all of you in the audience today. We have a question that I'd love for you guys to take a look and then you scan your phones to tell us what your thoughts are. We're going to put that up on the screen. The question is, where do you believe the most exciting opportunities lie in attracting travelers to Asia? Those are your three choices. If you just scan that QR code there, you can cast your vote. Your choices are pop culture, heritage experiences, nature and wellness, hospitality, and leisure. So where are the exciting opportunities that you believe in Asia? We'd love to hear from you. We'll give you guys some time to cast your ballot, and then we'll weigh in at the end. Dillip, I want to ask you, Thailand was really the #1 spot for tourism in Asia up until this year, which got trumped by Japan. How are you trying to win back tourists?
So I think Thailand's gone through, I would say, many waves over the last few years. It's quite unfortunate what's happened this year. Like, we had in the early year, we had the Chinese, the abduction. Then unfortunately, we had the earthquake as well. But in spite of that, our tourism numbers are just under 5% below what's been targeted, like, about 40 million tourists coming into Thailand. But also, like, today, I would say most of the travelers are seeking new destinations as well. And we see some of the new destinations actually really evolving, like places like Vietnam, places like Cambodia, Laos, Hong Kong, Japan, it's huge, and also Malaysia to a great extent as well. So we're seeing a multi-regional travel evolving, but the good thing is people are still using the hub as Thailand, and of course, Thailand offers a multi-dimensional guest experience, starting from culture-based tourism to wellness to even, like, we had the White Lotus, which was filmed in Thailand last year, which has given a huge boost in terms of really realigning Thailand as a luxury upscale tourism destination into places like Phuket and Samui and stuff. And now it's our job to ensure that we're also promoting the other destinations in Thailand, where there are some hidden gems in Thailand, and I think people love Thailand. So I'm sure next year, from what we see, all the work which the PPP or the public-private sector has put in will pay off next year, and we're hoping to see the tourism numbers actually really rising up next year.
Ritesh, we are sitting here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where it's hard to ignore the youth all across the Arab world, but also in Asia as well. How are young people transforming the way we look at the tourism industry?
Sure. Look, I think, first off, here in the kingdom, I've been coming here now for almost 8 years, and I have seen the evolution of this nation. I naturally am gravitated towards meeting and connecting with younger people, and a lot of them have become friends. I think this country has surprised me every single year. The pace at which, so 7 years ago, we just launched our hotel business here. We grew at the peak to over 250 economy hotels. What we saw 3 years ago was there was a rapid evolution to people, younger people, having higher ability to afford accommodations. So we saw the same customers who wanted to spend $70 or $100 earlier, now wanted more amenities and were willing to spend $200.
Wow.
And if you do not react to agile, young customers, you'll be left behind. So we flipped immediately, brought our brand, which we call Sunday Hotels, which is our upscale brand, and our mid-scale brand, Palette Hotels, focused at the $200 segment. And we have no qualms in saying that we are actually deprioritizing economy here. And there are parts of the world where we are growing our economy business. So my perspective is young people bring with them a great sense of love and aspiration in travel. As soon as their disposable income increases, they don't go to buy their next house, they don't go to buy their next car. They want to have that exciting travel experience that they have long awaited for. And to that extent, we as a hospitality brand have to constantly be ahead of the game in terms of learning what they want and serving them, because the customer is the king, isn't it?
Tony Fernandes, you talk a little bit, backstage we were talking a little bit about, you say that the low budget market is constantly underestimated. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think there's this, everyone talks about quality tourism and spending more. We started our airline 20 odd years ago with 2 planes, and we grew to 300 aircraft from 200,000 passengers to 90 million. And what happens with low-cost carriers is they generally open up destinations that weren't open up before. So there is this feeling that low-cost travelers don't spend, but actually they're higher spenders. They spend longer in the market, they explore the market more, and they penetrate into spending areas that maybe the premium market don't go to. And so we've seen it time and time again. We know it because everywhere we go, the spends increase, especially if it's a new destination completely. And so I think even the Gulf area, they underestimate, one, the power of the Asian consumer. There is an enormous amount of travelers that would come to this part of the world if they understood it, and that's what airlines such as ourselves will do. We're very excited by this part of the world. And two, there's this perception that low-cost travelers don't put enough back into the economy. That's a fallacy which has been addressed in Europe and has been addressed in Southeast Asia and Asia. And so it is something that is underestimated many, many times. One of the problems is that a lot of the regulators and the public, they don't actually travel on low-cost carriers and don't understand that market as well. And so they only know the premium service product. So there's a natural biasness towards that.
I'm surprised to hear you say just how much more money they spend when compared to the luxury market. Yeah. Tony Jiang, I want to ask you a little bit about what's distinctive about travel behaviors of the Asian travelers that global destinations might need to understand.
I think it's, I would say probably it's mobile first and mobile centric. Now that is obviously also a global trend, but I think just because of the demographics of the Asian travelers, I think Asian travelers is slightly more ahead of the curve in terms of mobile centric and mobile first. And I think part of that is also even taking travel inspiration from social media. I think the popularity of a travel destination is now highly correlated to how popular they are on social media. I was in Japan 2 weeks ago. I felt I needed to get a haircut because I'm appearing at the TOURISE. I went to this local hair salon, and then it's a Japanese guy. He told me that he put himself up on a China social media 6 months ago, and now 6 months later, he's getting 300 Chinese travelers who pop by his store in a month. Now, 300 customers in a grand scheme of things, it's probably not a big number, but it's 50% increase in his revenue. So travelers are not only going to the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, but the little streets, the little shops, the hidden gems across destinations.
Did you put your photo getting the haircut up on social media?
I did.
I guess it attributes to his success because it's a great haircut you have. I want to ask you, Schubert, a little bit about Trip.com and the trends you guys are seeing. Tony talked a little bit about the power of social media to really transform businesses and the travel industry. What are some of the things that 5 years ago you might not have seen coming?
I think the biggest one we're seeing right now is, like Tony was hinting, how social influencers are taking such a big share of attention. So right now, people are doing what we call digital discovery and socially induced digital discovery, and their attention span is going to that world. So the traditional marketing channels are getting affected. Then we're now seeing this shift from traditional search engine into AI mode or AI summary, where a lot of things are being bypassing the traditional SEMs and SEOs. So now with these attention shifts into social media and attention into new technology, really is getting the industry into a how should I get to my audience problem. That's something that's not predictable maybe 5 years ago. So I think right now we are putting a lot of effort trying to capture that new potential market, meaning people are now using the technology in a different way. Now, if you look, I just went to Google 2 weeks ago. We're looking at their numbers. AI mode is a healthy 15% and increasing. So that trend is worrisome for my traditional marketing budget, but very encouraging if we actually get into the new space of how can we discover more targeted messaging in a more summarized way. So in Google, they have the AI mode, they have the AI summary, everything that you can find a way to be contributing to that content, and then you then bypass the traditional SEMs. So I think that's the new channel we're looking into.
Ritesh, we heard a little bit from Schubert about the power of AI and technology. How is it transforming your company?
Look, AI is transforming every industry around us, right? Look, in the world of travel, and especially in our company, let me give 4 or 5 examples because I feel a lot of people just listen to the high headlines of how AI is making a difference. I feel the real-life comparisons could be fascinating. The first is dynamic pricing. There's a state in India called Himachal Pradesh, great on the lap of the Himalayas. Every time there's a snowfall there's a significant length of cars that drive upstairs. Weather patterns is an automated source of dynamic pricing now in our machines, which means humans don't need to make pricing decisions anymore. Machines itself will do surge or discounting pricing depending on demand. The second, we heard about check-ins. In a lot of our upper mid-scale hotels as well, in economy it was understandable to have check-ins with no front desk. But even in our mid-scale and upper mid-scale, we have humans at the front desk, but their jobs have been changed from the mechanical, I'm going to take your ID card, check you in, and so on, to just being the person who talks about the brand, talks about the local area, talks about the hotel, and the entire check-in experience is done even before you come to the property. The third, something that we're working on, it's not fully done, is things like cleaning, which historically has been an issue with machines because they run into the wall, all kinds of issues, right, with the current cleaning machines. But with AI, which can take hundreds of photos real time and can have very smart physical attributes to the robots, it can allow you to ensure that a lot of work which you need people for, and you cannot receive them in some locations, you can use robots for them. So my view is that every touch point, right from discovery of the hotel and the algorithm of search results, the dynamic pricing, the check-in experience in the hotel, the stay experience and the hospitality, and the post-checkout will be influenced by AI. But one thing that I believe in contrast to it is personalization and human connection in hospitality is not going to go away. I always think of it as saying the human good old world hospitality will do good old world hospitality. Everything else which is not so hospitality oriented, more mechanical, more system oriented, that's what I feel AI will help reduce. So I think it's not going to take away jobs. It's going to just make the jobs more joyful, is my sense.
Human connection matters now more than ever in the AI world. Tony, you got to get on a plane largely to get to these places. If there was one thing that you can do to transform the way we travel airlines, what would that be?
Well, I'd love airports to be a little bit easier. I think in this day and age, with the data we have, with immigration could be a lot smoother. I think the whole airport experience could really be less frictionless. That would be a fantastic thing. Again, putting on my low-cost hat, there's a very different airport experience we require from a full-service carrier, carrying first class and business class passengers. So I'd love to see airports beginning to separate out. I had a great meeting with GACA just now, and what they were talking about, their new developments, and how they begin to see a full-service airport and a low-cost carrier airport. So, but I would love, one part of traveling, I think, is that whole queuing.
Oh, hate it, yeah.
There must be better ways of getting through security, of immigration queues, which still exist in many, many countries, where you could stand in an airport queue for, an hour, hour and a half, when really the country you're arriving knows everything about you before you've taken off, from APIS and advanced passenger information. So one thing I think the travel industry could do better jobs with the public sector, and in some cases private airport operators, is to find a better way of leaving and arriving.
I hope you can make that happen, Tony. Burden's on your shoulders on that one. I'd love to see that happen. We're going to take a look right now at our audience survey question to see what you guys all said about our question. If we have those results, we'll post them up here. As we get ready to do that, I want to turn to our audience and also see what you guys had to say. I guess it'll pop up any moment with the magic of the back room. Tony, I want to ask you, Tony Jiang, when we talk about investments, are you investing in a place? I mean, it's transformative when you look at the progress just here in Riyadh. Every time I come back, it is unbelievable, the transformation. And I learn about a new destination and the effort that's been put into there. When you look at a lot of money from Asia coming into the Middle East, where is that being invested? What are the smart pockets and areas that the investment community is looking at?
I would say definitely travel and tourism. I grew up and witnessing China's phenomenal growth in the 90s and then the 2000s. And then I also witnessed the travel companies, how they actually benefited with the takeoff of the Chinese economy. And I think what's happening in the KSA is only to some extent quicker than what we have witnessed before in China. And so when the GDP of the country is growing so quickly, when the infrastructure is growing so quickly, when the middle class is rising so quickly, I think travel and tourism is the biggest beneficiary.
That's great to know. Well, here you have it, right behind us here. Where do you believe the most exciting opportunities lie in attracting travelers to Asia? 41% of you said nature and wellness. Do you guys agree? Nature and wellness? Yeah? Yeah? Schubert? No, not so. No?
Well, I think this question, the answer will be very different, depends on which demographic you're asking.
Okay.
If you ask this question in Asia, in a younger audience, pop culture will be number one.
Pop culture, sure. I can understand that. Pop culture was actually the lowest rated, 12%. The second was hospitality and leisure. The third, heritage experience, and then pop culture.
Basically, Schubert saying everyone else stays old.
No. Any other thoughts? Dillip, when you look at the survey and you look at nature and wellness, this is a booming industry, wellness. I mean, I will tell you, I will definitely take some certification in the next year that's wellness focused. But I'm the mother of 2 teenage kids, so maybe my perspective is a little different.
No, I think wellness has really resonated quite strongly, especially post-COVID. We've seen that as a new segment. Again, people talk about slow travel, like, the trains, the cruises, and everything else. But I think today, longevity, wellness has gone beyond spa. In Asia was so well known for the best spa experience and all those things. And then we went into wellness, and now it's evolved more into longevity. And now people are talking about biohacking, which is the new trend for people who really don't have much time to look after their body, mind, soul, and people are living longer, whether we like it or not. So, and what they want to do is they want to live in a healthy way, and they want to enjoy life. We have people, traveling in 3-4 generations today. From the grandparents to their kids to their grandkids, and that's not been possible in the past. But today the generational travel has really evolved, and so like say, especially like we launched the life called Anantara Life in Phuket last year, and it's really taken off very, very strong with especially the GCC market. We've seen a very strong demand being driven because people really want to take that 2 weeks or a month to look after their health and wellness, and then continue that along the way. And of course, Asia would be the best place because it's the people, it's the weather, it's the cultural experiences. And if you're a family, if you're traveling with a family, like say your husband can go play golf, you can go and make yourself look $1 million worth once you finish everything being done. And the kids can go to the kids club and not just kids club, but do kids activities and really enjoy themselves. So you have a truly holistic experience, which also encompasses wellness as well.
All right. In our final minutes, I want to do one quick lightning round question. Schubert, I'll start with you. What's the one thing about the Asia tourism market you want this audience not to forget?
Going back to Tony's comment about the age question, I think there's a demographic power shift coming, meaning the millennials are becoming 40, the Gen Zs are making good money. This group in Asia will be 50% of the purchasing power in travel. So we need to pay attention to them, what they're looking for, and providing product that's tailored to their taste and the quality they're asking for.
Tony.
I always say, I think the Asia travelers, the Asia technology, the Asia product, and the Asia capital, I think all of those are actually growing rapidly, and they can be also a very good force in combination to bring the world to Saudi Arabia and bring Saudi Arabia to the world.
Ritesh?
Yeah, I would say I started by saying spontaneity is the new planning, but I wanted to use this opportunity to end with saying I would be remiss if I did not talk about India. India is by far one of the fastest growing force in outbound tourism market. If you are a destination in Asia or elsewhere, please bring your attention to the Indian travelers specifically. They have some specific interests which may be unique to themselves, and a lot of things which are common to the broader Asian market. But that's going to be probably one of the biggest outbound opportunities in times to come. I'd say that.
Dillip?
I would say people. It's just one word. Asian hospitality is all about people.
Final word, Tony.
3 billion people. I think all the investments in the GCC, the future is going to be a lot of people from Asia, whether it's China, whether it's India, whether it's ASEAN, rising GDP. It's a market that is going to drive, I think, GCC tourism going forward, and it's very exciting. And I want to go to Dillip's resort and look like $1 million.
Thank you, Tony.
It hasn't worked on him yet.
Tony. Oh my goodness. Well, I want to thank all of you for helping us understand better why Asia has become the travel powerhouse globally with tourism. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here.
Thanks very much.